Steve, I'm with you. We and have been for a long time. I just can't understand when most Americans truly believe they're in the middle. We keep electing officials who take this total polarizing attitude. We need to get back to the middle to get anything done. Here's a guy that was involved with politics for a long time, becomes the Cook County Sheriff, and I would argue has done a phenomenal job and continues to do a phenomenal job and a thankless job. And we wanted to get him on to talk about the lawman aspect of the Safety Act. And maybe unfair to even ask the question after 2 or 3 days. But Tom Dart, what are you seeing?
Yeah, Steve, it's you nailed it, because the thing is that if you're going to be accurate and, follow facts, which seems to be unique these days, we really need to, wait, a couple weeks, a month to get full flavor. And then obviously for all the professors and all the rest of the really smart people, they'll look at it a year or two from now and do all the analytics. But the bottom line is this going to make our community safer or not? We won't know right away, because theoretically now, Steve, this could mean more people in jail, not less. Right. We won't know, because basically, to really simplify this as well as you can, now you are either held in custody waiting on your trial, or you're released. There's no middle ground. There's no you can be released if you come up with $1,000. You can be released if you give $200 and you get home monitoring. No. The judges now make a straight-up determination. Either you're held in custody waiting on your trial, or you're released. And you can be released just straight out, or released with conditions like home monitoring, things like that. And so no one really knows how this is going to play out. There is no other state that's done this. There's been sort of variations of this done in New Jersey and a couple other places. And like New Jersey, they had to roll it back quite a bit because they were experiencing some crime increases and things that made them change some things. So, it's going to be one of those things you're going to have to sit and really, really look at the data and the numbers. And the thing that's really unfortunate about that, Steve, historically, the criminal justice system has been horrible with data and numbers. And so they better get good with it in a hurry, put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating, because it's all up to the judge's discretion on whether or not they should be released or whether or not they stay in jail. If they stay in jail, then jails get overcrowded. There's more taxpayer dollars going that direction. If they get released, it's the honor system. Do they show back up? If they're wearing an electronic monitor, do they stay at home or in bounds? A lot of people are saying the folks with the electronic monitoring can't go to work. Say you work at a construction site, but you have an electronic monitoring on. You can't get to work. But Sheriff, are you seeing, or have you seen, or do you catch a lot of criminals that are wearing electronic monitoring systems that are not following the rules?
A part of the difficulty in this business has been not just the obvious parts of it, but I'm not joking with you, dealing with some of these morons that are either willfully ignorant or being deceptive. Take your pick. So I've heard them spin in this nonsense about home monitoring. The poor person can't go to his job. Mm-hmm. That's a unmitigated lie. It's the person who runs the largest home monitoring program in the country, and have done that now for 20 years, or the 17 I've been around here. I can tell you, these folks all got to go to work because I was the one that would shut the machine off so they could go to work. We would call their work up and say, hey, does he work there? Are these his hours? Okay, we'll shut it off during the period. To go to school, we did the same thing. But these either wildly ignorant people or deceptive, not sure which, have painted this picture that now that they've got it so that the number of people going to be incarcerated will be less, theoretically. Now they want to say that home monitoring also is overly oppressive. And I keep reminding people, listen, Tiger, the judge has this person and all the facts in front of him. They could release him in the old days on an I-bond where he can go anywhere he wants 24 hours a day, or now they can do it in a similar way. They can be released. The judge has said, no, there's something about this guy that I'm very uneasy with. The crime is dangerous, so I don't want him wandering free. So I want him on home monitoring. But now those people want to ignore all that and say, oh, this home monitoring is so oppressive. So what those fools did is 2 years ago, they went down to Springfield and woven into this bill is a provision that says 2 days a week I have to shut everyone's device off. that might be fine if it was a bunch of like drug offenders. The majority of people on my home monitoring program are violent offenders. I have about 115 charged with either murder or attempt murder, and I have to shut their device off twice a week so they can go shopping for food. And mind you, before the brain surgeons passed that, Steve, 85% of people on home monitoring had the ability to have their machine turned off so they could go to work, go to school, go to doctor's appointments, go to funerals. So they have just tried to carve this around so that the people who are on home monitoring now are not going to be monitored for large periods of time. It's insane.
Well, it's insane because we don't talk about the victims nearly enough, and this is even just a slap in the face of that complaint because if we literally don't care about the public enough, that we take people who have been accused or on trial for about to be on trial for violent crimes, and we just go, well, maybe they murdered, maybe they didn't. Let's just let them out and see what happens.
Yeah. Let's roll the dice on that. See, that's the other part of it, Steve. Some of these fools act as if you're picking names out of the phone book. You know, the old days with the phone book. You're just picking names out randomly, and let's just hold this person. Let's keep this one locked up. No, there's the underlying issue that there was a crime committed. There was more than probable cause to charge the person. The state's attorney believes they have enough evidence beyond a reasonable doubt they did it. And so if that's the case, and it's an inherently very violent offense, most societies would say we can't roll the dice and say, let's just see what happens here. They'd say, no. This person, by their conduct is someone we have to be very careful about, and maybe we shouldn't have them wandering the street in the meantime. And yet, some of this stuff has gotten to be where it's like when you say things like that, you're the crazy person, and you're like, come on here. Let's be
well,
honest.
And you know, it's another kick in the crotch to the morale of good, hardworking men in law enforcement who do the right thing, go through the process to arrest somebody. Keep in mind, once you're arrested, sure, there's precedent. At some point, maybe you didn't do it. Maybe you'll go to trial. Maybe you'll be acquitted. But you didn't just happen to end up in custody. You didn't just swing by and suddenly they picked you up off the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. So since you're in custody, there's a reason you're in custody. So maybe we don't just go, why don't you go home and we'll see what happens.
Go home and think about it.
All right. So, Tom, here's what I want to do. And if you have a minute, I got a break for traffic. We'll come right back from traffic. And I want to talk to you for a second about shoplifting because I feel bad about what I stole. No, that's not right. I want to talk to you about shoplifting because I feel good about what you guys are doing.
And I just witnessed one.
That wasn't me. Wow. Stand by, more with Tom Dart in just a second. There really is good news here. There's a term called shrinkage where a lot of these major retail companies are going, shoplifting, yeah, we can't do anything about it. We'll write it all off as shrinkage, and eventually we'll have to go bankrupt and go out of business. I don't think that's the right way to go. So the Cook County Sheriff's Department's been brought in a bigger way than ever to help fight this shoplifting that continues to go on. You can't expect the CPD to do all of it or the Cook County Sheriff's Department to do all of it. And you guys are making some real headway here.
We are, and you know, I hate saying this too, Steve, but one of the people helping me immensely with this is your old colleague, Ro Khan. He's been working a lot in the downtown area.
I
had him go undercover. Remember that episode where Barney was like in the store dressed up in his hunting gear? That Ro goes in the store undercover like that, and that's how we are.
How do you get Ro Khan to go undercover when he goes everywhere going? Do you know me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that has a way of decreasing our arrest rate. But the thing that you're what people don't, it's interesting, Steve, because I used to be a prosecutor years ago down the sheriff thing, and I'll be honest with you, I used to minimize shoplifting, retail theft. I was like, listen, we have too many shootings, homicides, we don't have time for this stuff. But here's the deal: the retail theft, particularly as it applies to Michigan Avenue, it sort of puts the stain on Michigan Avenue where people don't want to come down there because it's too violent. And that's where all of our revenue for the city comes from. So that's problem one. But problem two, this is organized retail theft now. And so someone like Kwame Raoul has been amazing, and he's identified this. He's given us some funds to help us pay for it so that we can put more officers on the street there. It's been so much more organized now, Steve, where in the old days someone would steal something, they'd try to sell it themselves. Maybe they had someone that would fence it. Now, because of the delightful internet, these folks go on all sorts of different sites and sell this stuff in massive amounts, make massive amounts of money, and the money then ends up going into all sorts of other criminal activities. So these are not these one-offs that we all knew years ago. This is very organized. The money is huge, and it's decimating some of these stores that will leave.
So the idea of these stores just looking the other way while the people run out, how do you deal with that problem?
Yeah, and that's so funny you should say it. One of the first things we did, in addition to putting more police officers on there, is we went business to business to talk to the security people at every business to find out what their role, their protocols were. Because in some of them, Steve, from the very top of the organization, they say, we don't arrest people. The rationale behind that was, they don't want to get sued if the guy falls when they're putting him in custody or something like that. And we had to talk to some people. The majority were not like that. But some of the people we had to talk to say, listen, this hurts the whole area when you're not prosecuting because these bad guys know that. And I was at one place where literally I was talking to the security guy. He said 3 days in a row, the same guy came in here, went and stole something very expensive, walked right by us out the door, and he kept coming back and doing it again. And so it's one of those things where we had to sit and talk with a lot of the business owners, listen to them, find out what were some of the things we can do. And we found out in the last 4 months we have had a decrease in retail theft in the Michigan Avenue area of about like 16, 17%, which is substantial.
Yep.
And we think that we're going to have more of that as we move on because we really are using data like you wouldn't believe to find out when they're taking stuff, where they're taking it, what type of things they are. And so it's been something where we're making progress there. CPD is amazing, but as you said, they're overwhelmed. And so we're helping by adding more people, some strategy and all that, and we're seeing some results.
It's Sheriff Tom Dart, Cook County Sheriff's Department. Thank you for the fine work you're doing, your great men and women are doing, and for crying out loud, even thank you to Rokon.
You said it.
Every once in a while, the broken clock theory.
No, he's good. He's good. And you had the foresight to know he'd be good. So he's a good addition to your staff, your force.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have him. I really am.
Tom Dart, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much. Take care.